So, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Tammy Kabell. I am founder and CEO of Career Resume Consulting.
And I'm Clay Schnittker. I'm the Chief Executive Coach for Career Resume Consulting.
Okay. And welcome to the Strategic Networking for Six-Figure Professionals webinar. We have got a ton in store for you today. So please make sure that you've got your outline ready that we sent you via email so that you can take notes. And we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to transition into the PowerPoint presentation that we've prepared for you guys.
Great.
Okay, everyone. So today, of course, like I said, we're going to be talking about strategic networking for six-figure professionals. Another way to put this is how to land a six-figure job in weeks and not months. And that's what our clients do, and that's what I want to teach you how to do in the next hour or so. So let's first do a little housekeeping. I want to talk about the webinar controls. If you're on a PC or if you're on your phone or any kind of iPad, iPhone, Android, you can adjust your screen size and you can make your screen full size to watch the webinar that way. I just want to let you know that we are going to be putting up some links. So if you're on a device and the webinar is full screen, you may want to shrink the webinar down if you don't see the links. So it all depends on your device and your personal settings on that device. Okay, so did you know that in the United States today, and I know that we've got a lot of people outside of the US watching this today, but in the United States right now, it takes between 12 and 18 months to find a six-figure job. And if you're over the age of 50, that statistic goes up to 18 to 24 months. And that's from the AARP in their latest survey. So literally, it can take you up to 2 years to find a six-figure position.
So there really is I don't know if it's discrimination, but there is a longer length of time when you get to 50 years of age.
Absolutely. Now, in the Midwest, I do see ageism, true ageism, starting in the job search at around age 58 or so. On the coasts, it seems that it's younger than that. So on the West Coast, definitely anybody over 45. I've seen some ageism happen, especially in Silicon Valley. And on the East Coast, I really see anybody over 50 as having a disadvantage or having that as a liability in your search. But the good news is that you don't have to be one of these statistics. You know, you've got to do the right activities in the right way. So one of the right things to do is network, and you need to do it in a specific way, which is actually different than if you were networking as a business owner or as a salesperson. So today, in the next hour or so, you're going to learn basically three main things. We want to keep it very simple, but still give you quite a bit of information. We promise to teach you how to solve the biggest mysteries of networking. And I can tell you that a lot of people do not like to network. You know, if you're a born salesperson, I know you like to network, but other than that, most people do not like networking at all. So what we're going to do today is we're going to walk you through how to introduce yourself in a way that sets you apart from the competition and also makes you memorable to everyone that you talk with. And we're also going to teach you how to do networking strategically for job searching when you're looking for a higher paying job so that you're not wasting your time with activities that produce no results. And then third, we're going to give you the secret to expanding your network in about 3 hours a week, even a little less if you need to, and you can do it without leaving your office or even your house.
And I think that that's important because a lot of people can't get out, they're too busy, and some people just have, you know, they're shy and they it's harder for them. So I mean, this was really valuable information.
It is. And honestly, the real reason that we're doing this webinar is to help people get a job that they deserve and get paid what they're worth and to be able to do it quickly and not in 1 to 2 years, which is the average. So I want you to be able to take out your family or your significant other to a nice restaurant anytime you want and really not be worried about the bill. And more than that, and if you've been to any of my other webinars, you'll know my story. But more than that, I don't want you to be at the mercy of employers who may lay you off or treat you badly and make you miserable. I want you to be able to take control of your career. And when I got laid off from a very large company here in the Kansas City area, I was unemployed as an executive for 12 months. I had no idea how to look for a job, and I actually got into the career field by chance because a recruiter picked me up, and I was able to get a senior marketing director position in an executive career firm. And at the time, I didn't even know what an executive career firm was. But I don't want you to be at the mercy of the job market or at the mercy of employers. So I want you to be able to take control of your job and job search. And of course, today we're going to be answering as many questions as we can and give you a ton of additional information to show you how to make networking not only effective, but also a little fun. Okay? And to thank you for showing up and being committed to achieving these goals, we are also going to give you an updated strategic networking manual for six-figure professionals to show our appreciation for you today. You're going to get a link to download the electronic edition of this manual later in the webinar. It's going to be on the right-hand side of the webinar. You're going to get a link for that. And we're also going to offer you a substantial discount on any of our services because you're watching this webinar. And we'll talk about that for a little bit, just a little later on. Okay, so I want to introduce us because I know that there are a lot of people on the line today, and a lot of people are new to career resume consulting and new to myself and Clay. So I want to give you a good reason as to why you should be listening to us. Why is it that we're the experts on marketing? So as I mentioned a minute ago, I was unemployed for a year, and I know from experience that things got really stressful at home, and I don't want you to have to live through that. So one of the goals I have for you is to find the perfect job quickly so you don't have to feel that stress about providing for your family or having those stressful conversations with your spouse that I had when I was laid off for a year. But before I was laid off, I had about 18 years of hiring manager experience at all levels, from frontline staff all the way up to executive VPs. And when I got into the career business, I worked for the largest executive career firm in the country. And then in 2008, when the job market really tanked, that's when I started my business, Career Resume Consulting. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to be featured as an expert multiple times in the Wall Street Journal and also in a lot of articles in Career Builder, The Ladders, NBC News, Bloomberg Business Week. And right now, I'm a regular on the local Fox station news show that I can share some tips on how to find a great job quickly. And I really enjoy doing that as well. So, Clay, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. I'm Clay Schnittker, and I'm the Chief Executive Coach for Career Resume Consulting. And for almost 20 years, I was a practicing attorney, and with 12 of those years owning my own firm. But now I'm a recovering attorney. I basically changed careers in 2014. I was a client of Career Resume Consulting.
Yeah.
Went through the process, was involved in many hiring processes. And
I picked him up.
Exactly.
I recruited him.
So now I work with Tammy, and we do a great job at helping people get those six-figure jobs.
Yeah, so what we do basically, a career firm will basically work for the job seeker instead of working for the company. And we're the only career firm that I know that stays with you until you get the job. and helps you negotiate. And that's really one of the ways that we give a return on investment, or one of the ways that we get people a lot of money. I usually can get people between $30,000 and $50,000 more than what they were originally offered. So I'm very creative at negotiating, and it's my favorite part. So as we go along, what I'd love for you to do is, at the bottom underneath this presentation, there's a chat box, and I would love for you to send in your comments and your questions and suggestions. We're going to cover those a little bit later and make sure that we get everything that you need. And if you've got a moment, tell us where you're from. I would love to see where everybody's from. So looks like we've got, of course, Callie from England, and Australia, and who else? Kentucky, okay, and Florida. It looks like we've got people from all over, so that's wonderful. I'm really happy about that.
And remember that no question is a dumb question.
That's true. That's true.
It's too important to not get that question out.
Yeah. So let's get into some information so that you can start to take some really good notes. The first thing I want to do is I want to explain to you a different framework of looking at the job search process so that you understand what the job market is about today. So really, I want to tell you there hasn't really been a strong job recovery. And if you're in the job search actively right now, you understand that. And this last recession has really been the first white-collar recession that we've had. And we had a Gallup poll that came out not too long ago that said 20% of the workforce, which means 20% of fully employed people, are looking for a job, and that equates to 20 million people. When you add up everyone that is unemployed, underemployed, long-term unemployed, everybody that, for instance, has a PhD and is making $13 an hour, or is completely miserable at their job and they're looking for something else, that's 40 million people. So job search baseball is a framework that teaches you gotta go one step at a time. So for instance, your resume is not designed to get you a job. A lot of people think mistakenly that if they just had a better resume, they'd get a job quicker. And that's not always true. It's how you use it, and it's how it's written. So resume, everything that's all of your written materials, your online presence like your LinkedIn profile, and networking and what you say in networking, that's all marketing. And you have to use marketing techniques in order to get to first base, which is that initial phone call. And I'll also tell you that almost everyone I talk to says, if I just get the phone call, I'll get the job, because I've never had a phone call where I didn't get a job offer. Well, everybody is saying that right now. So it is very, very competitive out there. You are running up against competition that's just as good, just as qualified, has the certifications, everything. So you've got to make yourself different, and you've got to make yourself better. So what we're talking about today in networking is just one piece of how to get to first base. Now, once you do get to first base, you use sales psychology. That's what I found to be most effective to get to second base, which is the face-to-face interview. Once you get that face-to-face interview, you can use advanced sales psychology like, for instance, nonverbal communication, or a lot of rapport building, doing a lot of research on the person as well as the company to make sure that you get the offer. And then once you get the offer, you actually don't get to home plate yet. You have to negotiate a package that will pay you what you're worth, that you want, and has the pieces that are important to you and is acceptable to the company. And that's when you get your butt in the seat, and that's when you get to home plate and get the job. So
really the process is to make contact, is to get around the bases, and the approach is set up so it's very, very unlikely that you're going to strike out. If you put the effort into these marketing techniques, you're going to make contact, you're going to get around the bases, and then you'll land that job.
Yeah, that's true. And something else to note, networking is the only technique that I have seen that will allow you to skip the phone call and go straight to the face-to-face interview. If you've got a warm lead and you're able to set up a face-to-face interview with somebody because of a networking contact you've made, that skips first base and you're actually rounding the bases and going to second base, which is really what you want. So let's get into the first thing that we want to teach you today, and that is how to introduce yourself in a way that will make you memorable, that will be easily understood. What you want is to be able to introduce yourself in a way that a 9-year-old will understand it and that it's memorable. So I've designed an audio business card that has 3 pieces. And if you explain what you do in 1 to 2 sentences with these 3 components, you actually are very, very memorable. Because let's face it, if you're in a networking group and you want perhaps a director of sales position, but there are 7 to 10 other director of sales people out there, how are you going to set yourself apart? You could say, yes, I'm looking for a director of sales position, but it doesn't make you memorable, and it doesn't. 3 weeks from now, when somebody that you've talked to is talking with a decision maker, how are they going to remember that you are the expert in sales and what you do? So let's talk about the audio business card. Now, in the outline that you've got a place to put the 3 pieces. So let's talk about the first thing. That is, define who it is that you want to work with. And that means the size company, the industry, and the location. In other words, the geographic location. So you could say, for instance, small to mid-sized companies. It doesn't necessarily mean mom and pop shops. And actually, the size companies that are hiring right now and have been since the recession, most of the hiring has been done not by the really large companies, but by companies with an annual revenue of 10 to 50 million in annual revenue. So that's going to get you your best results. You can say small to mid-size. And if you've got an industry, it's definitely worth saying what kind of industry. And we'll talk about how to use this so that you can change this up a little bit. But it's the size company, the industry, and location. So, for instance, in the New York City area or in Los Angeles. And then the second one is you identify what their core problem is. In other words, you want to look back at what you've done in your career over and over again that you're really good at. What problems have you solved? Now, every company has problems. Either they're not growing and they want to, or maybe they're growing and they've got growth pains. But whatever you do, whether it be sales, operations, finance, IT, engineering, these companies have specific problems that you are really good at coming up with ideas for fixing. And you want to make them symptomatic. In other words, you don't want to say a company that has sluggish operations, because nobody really knows what sluggish operations is. But you could say a company that they don't get their product or service out on time. They may be losing some of their bigger customers. They may have slimmer margins than before the recession. Those are all symptoms. So that's what you want to identify, and you want to identify maybe 1 to 3 of those. I would say maybe 1 to 2 is going to be best. And then third, finally, you're going to mention the benefit of hiring you. You have to consider yourself as a product, and if you were a product, what are your features and benefits? So think of the benefits of hiring you, and this is where you mention your expertise. And you can say, this is what my specialty is, this is what I'm an expert in, this is what my expertise is. And I tell you why. When I started using the word expert in how I coached my clients to network and explain what they do, and also putting it into a resume and putting it into a LinkedIn profile, people got more results, and they got more interviews, they got jobs quicker, and they got paid more, because people will pay more for experts. So I'm going to give you an example of this. Let's say you are a marketing manager and you're looking for a job at a small to mid-sized technology firm. You might say something like this. You know how a lot of small businesses in technology field have a new product coming out, but they have no idea how to market it or sell it? Well, that's my specialty. I can take a software product, even from inception, and brand it and create a marketing campaign around it in order to help the company grow exponentially. All right? And of course, every company wants to grow exponentially. And if you say something like that, then the person that's listening to it, whether it be a crowd and you're standing up and telling a group, or you're having a phone conversation, or you're having a lunch or a coffee with somebody, if you introduce yourself in this way, it makes it different than just saying, I'm looking for a marketing manager position. So fill out your own audio business card. And this is something that might take you a little while to get perfect. And actually, later on in this hour, we're going to talk about how you can have us create your audio business card for you for free. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that. But fill out your own audio business card now with an industry and a size company that you'd really like to get into. And then what's their core problem? What gap are you filling? Think of the symptoms they'd have. And then what would be the benefits of hiring you, or what is your expertise? And I'll tell you, in networking situations, have the other person speak first so you can tailor your audio business card to their background. For instance, you're having a conversation with somebody and they do 80% of the talking, which is actually a great goal for you to have somebody talk most of the time, because then they like you more, believe it or not. And if they're in the agriculture industry, you might say, well, you know how some small to mid-sized businesses, like in the agriculture industry, are having problems getting their products out the door. Well, that's really what I work on. I work in operations to help get those products out the door in a quick and efficient way and help the company save money so that their margins can expand and they can start growing. So something else too, and I think you saw this too, Clay, when you were doing a job search, that the audio business card is actually a really good way to start out answering the question, so tell me about yourself in an interview.
Absolutely. I think that that is the perfect way to start that interview question.
Yeah. It sets the tone for the rest of the interview, and it does set you up as an expert. So I'm going to share mine. It took me actually 6 months to figure out. And I kept honing it and getting it shorter and shorter. And I will tell you that the shorter it is, the more impact it has. So you're really going to have to refine yours and practice. Every person that I work with on their audio business card, when it first starts out, they fumble all over the place, and then they get better at it, and then it just kind of rolls off your tongue. So mine is, you know, my firm helps our clients get their next six-figure job in weeks and not months. Booyah. So that really gives somebody a great explanation as to who I work with, six-figure clients, what their problem is, it takes months to get a job, and then what I solve, my expertise, is getting them a job in weeks instead of months. And Clay, do you want to share yours?
Sure, I'll share it. First, Tammy, go ahead and ask me the question, so tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of talking today. It's good. So Clay, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, thanks. You know that there's a lot of unemployed and underemployed job seekers throughout the United States and worldwide who are making connections and they're making applications for jobs, but they're never getting called. Or worse yet, they're getting those calls and having those interviews, but they can't close the deal and get the job. Well, that's what I do best. I help create a new personal brand and help teach the job seeker how to find that new position and become the rock star they really are, and dramatically increase their opportunities to find the job that they're not only excited about, but yet where they're paid what they're worth.
Yes, and that's a big deal. It really is. You know, I hear from a lot of our clients that money isn't everything and they're really wanting a good fit. However, if you are underpaid and underappreciated, over the course of years, you're going to be pretty upset and you're going to get resentful. So it's a really good idea to get paid what you're worth.
Absolutely. And if you have the good fit, it's going to be much more likely in the future that you are going to get paid what you're worth.
That's true. And you have great options in moving forward and increasing your career, going up, moving forward. One thing I do want to mention on the audio business card, and it comes down to talking about yourself as an expert. I know that a lot of our clients say, well, what if I can't live up to the reputation that I make for myself? Or when they work with us, we make them into an absolute rock star, and there are often times that they are well positioned to get a job that's 1 or 2 levels higher than what they've ever done before. So it's a common fear that they may not be able to live up to it. So what I would recommend for you to really own your expertise is to look at your achievements throughout your career and see what you've done over and over again in different positions. And that really is your expertise. And you can back it up with specific examples. So don't be afraid to play big, because that's actually what's going to get you that first phone call quickly and also get you hired. But in positioning yourself as an expert, when you do get the job, the really great thing about it is that people listen to you, they respect you, and they look up to you. And they see you as that rock star that Clay was talking about, that you really are. We bring out the inner rock star, and you can do that yourself to bring out what it is that you are really, really good at. Anything else, Clay?
Not really as far as this is concerned, but really have that confidence, like she says, to play big so that you can get the phone call, you can then land the job, and then like she said, you are respected when you get in that position.
Yeah. I often, when I talk to clients after they've gotten the job, a lot of times they say the best part about getting the new job is not only the great fit and the great people that they're working with, but also that people listen to them and people understand them and people look up to them, and they are a trusted authority. They're a trusted advisor, and oftentimes it's a trusted advisor to the COO or the CFO or the CIO, and sometimes they are on the executive team and they're a trusted advisor to the owner.
That's right, that they feel valued by the team.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, let's go into the next thing that we want to teach you tonight. And I know that we're giving you a ton of information here, so keep up and keep writing the notes. The next thing we're going to go over is a 5-point strategic networking plan. And this is using strategy in your networking so that you're not doing it randomly. A lot of people don't like networking, and it's because they randomly go to networking events that they hear about. They might hand out their business card, or oftentimes they don't even have a business card to hand out. And they're having conversations with people, but they never follow up and nothing ever happens, and they get very frustrated and they feel like they've wasted time. And I've seen it before where people will grab a drink and they will bring somebody to a networking event, and they stay and all they talk to is the person that they brought, and they don't actually branch out and talk to people at networking events. But there are places online that you can network that we'll talk about. But let's go through these 5 points of the strategic networking plan. The first thing you want to know, and do know, you can take notes on this, but the manual that we're going to give you later on in the webinar has all of this stuff written down and goes into a tremendous amount of detail in the strategic networking plan, okay? So if you don't get everything written down, don't worry about it. You can download it at the end of the webinar, and you'll be able to read it and take notes from that later. So the first one is you really have to know who your ideal target company is. And of course, that's industry. A lot of people say, well, I don't care what industry, I'm open. Or they want to change industries. That's great. But have some in mind, so at least you're targeting some and you're doing it in a consistent manner, going from industry to industry. And it really comes down to knowing the places where your ideal companies or contacts and referrals congregate. So let me explain what contacts are, and let me explain what referrals are. So referrals are people who can refer you. They're not decision makers, but they're people that can refer you to decision makers. They may know a lot of people. And I want to introduce you to the concept of centers of influence. And you probably know a lot of centers of influence already. Centers of influence are simply people who know a lot of professional people. So it might be your tax preparer, it might be your clergy, it might be your banker, it might be your doctor. What other centers of influence can you think of?
It might be a trade association.
Yes, an industry association leader, absolutely. A networking group leader, absolutely. They know the people that are coming to that networking group. So go to the places where those contacts and referrals congregate. Trade association is a great place. Industry association is a really good place. And what you would want to do is call the leader of that association before the meeting and find out if it's a great place to go, and ask that magical question, who do you know that I should be talking with?
And I think that's very important to bring that up, because then when you go to that event, you can search that person out. And many times that person will lead you around the room and introduce you to all sorts of people.
Absolutely. And when they do that, it's kind of like tacit approval. It's kind of like, hey, I've got somebody I want you to meet. And they know the people you need to be talking to. So go to those places where they congregate. Some places to consider, and we've got this in the manual, so you don't necessarily have to write it down, but workshops, seminars, conferences, trade shows, any business mixers. I know that we do locally here in Kansas City. We hold a six-figure network happy hour where we buy the drinks and we have fun, and we get great talent talking to other great talent. And it has really been tremendously helpful for those people to be introduced to other people.
And you're absolutely right. And one good thing about that is that we do get together and we do discuss these issues. We do, introduce ourselves. But beware that in a business mixer, sometimes they're basically become drinking parties, and you don't want to be in a situation where the only purpose they're there is to have a beer and to drink.
That's true.
You'll find that out pretty quick, though. I know you will.
That's true. That's true. And number 3 of the networking plan is when you get there, and when I say get there, it could be a mixer, it could be a networking group, but it could also be a one-on-one conversation. It could be a 10-minute conversation, and we'll talk about what's called an informational interview in just a moment. But you really have to know what to say. Have a plan before you go into the room of how you're going to introduce yourself, how you're going to ask them, well, who do you know that I should be talking with, and where else should I be networking? You really want to get to that next step, know your elevator pitch, and really get to ask that question so that they can refer you to somebody else, or you can like follow up with them later on.
And that's why the audio business card makes so much sense to craft and have it down, because it becomes the first part of your calling card when you're networking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Number 4 is employing a strategic employ strategic networking. And there's really 2 pieces to that. There's the target and the focus. And I always recommend to our clients that you look at maybe 2 to 4 networking groups or industry groups or some sort of place that you can congregate, 2 to 4 a month. Not a lot, and if you don't have a lot of time, we'll talk about an alternative to going to networking groups. But you want to have that target and the focus, and you want to be able to talk to centers of influence, and of course ask that question, okay, so do you know anybody in the room that I should be talking with in addition to you? And having that good conversation. What you're looking for is to start a rapport that you can then, in number 5, you can follow up with and create a tremendous amount of rapport. You also want to put regular networking on your calendar so that you know that you're going. And I recommend not being the social butterfly that goes to every networking group in town, but pick 2 to 4 and be regular. And be somebody that's active, that people know you, they recognize you, and you are top of mind when they have a conversation with a decision maker that is looking to hire somebody like you.
Because some of these relationships, they require that a little bit of trust be built up, and sometimes it takes 1, 2, or 3 visits to that networking group before you can develop that trust.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So I would say the number 5 is probably the most important because it's the one that I see people not doing. And that is you have to have a follow-up system. Here's what I recommend. After a networking event, you sit in your car and you've got either your phone that you're taking notes on or your tablet or possibly just a notepad, and you write notes about the people that you met and things that you talked about so that you will remember that later, because I'll tell you, once you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you're not going to remember everybody. Get some business cards and then follow up with them by email or by phone and say, hey, remember we talked a couple of days ago? I would love to learn more about, it could be XYZ, it could, whatever it is. You want to have a follow-up system. Now, one of the things that you can do is use a CRM, which is a customer relationship management software. You can do Zoho.com, which is ZOHO.com. And you can also do an Excel spreadsheet. And you can also, I think there's one called Karma with a K, KARMA.com that might be free that you can use. Put the information in there so that you keep track of who you've talked to, who you've sent a thank you note to, and things like that.
So, this is a 5-point strategic networking plan, and number 5 is the follow-up system, but I think that the follow-up system, doing that follow-up, may be the most important part of networking, because sometimes your networking may not be up to par, up to snuff, but if your follow-up system is there, you always have the opportunity to make those contacts. So make sure that after that meeting, even if you sit in your car when you leave and get in the parking lot, go ahead and make those notes right then, or life may go on and you may not ever get to it.
And I will tell you that it's kind of a standard where people talk in a networking situation and they make promises. Oh yeah, I'll connect you with somebody or I'll send you something, but they never do it. They never follow up. So if you actually follow through with what you say you're going to do, you're going to make an impression. And so the follow-up system is really, really key. Okay. So let's answer some questions, and we've got a lot of chats and comments coming through. I want to know what questions you have. Let's answer a couple questions since we're at the bottom of the hour, and get maybe a couple of questions in so that we can not save those all until the end. So let's do some of those.
Okay. Looks like here the first one is from Kelly, and her question is networking really worth all the effort you put into it?
That's a really good question. So, we are talking about a lot of work, aren't we? We haven't talked about how to do it in less than 3 hours, but we are going to get to that very quickly. So my answer is, there was a study that came out that said 83% of 6-figure jobs are gotten outside of a normal hiring process, which means that it's networking. It's who you know. And so I've also seen up to 80% of 6-figure jobs that aren't posted publicly. So really, networking is one of the only and probably the greatest way to find out about that 80% of 6-figure jobs that aren't posted publicly. If you are applying online over and over and over again, you're seeing very few opportunities at your level, and you tend to apply for things beneath you that you know you could do in your sleep. That's not an effective way to do a job search. And the jobs that are at your level are probably not going to be posted publicly, and if they are, they're very few. So, and you'll have a tremendous amount of competition. So you need to be able to make connections so that you can learn about opportunities before they become public. All right, what other question? Let's take one more question, then we've got to get to informational interviewing. So let's do one more.
This one's from Stan, and Stan asks, I work 50 to 60 hours a week and don't have much time to look for a job. What one thing should I be doing that will get me the best result in networking?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so that is a great segue into the informational interviewing and also using LinkedIn. Because if you don't have a lot of time, and I know there are a lot of people that are employed that are listening to this webinar, if you don't have a lot of time, let's get into informational interviewing and how to ask the right questions and how to do an informational interview. So let me explain what an informational interview is. And I want to give you a couple of examples of how informational interviewing with some of our more recent clients has really resulted in tremendous increases in everything that they do. So with informational interviewing, you find the target person that you want to talk to by doing an advanced people search on LinkedIn. And you don't have to be a premium member. You can just go into advanced people search at the top, and you're looking in a target company or you're looking in a target industry. So you could put the industry in the keywords field, and you're looking for somebody in your area or your target area if you're wanting to move, and you're finding somebody that you could talk to. Now, I've found that a lot of times just talking to a frontline salesperson, even if you're not in sales, actually, especially if you're not in sales, they will talk your ear off, and they will talk to anybody that will give them the time of day.
Salespeople love to talk.
They do, and they will tell you all about the company. So you contact their main office number, and you can find that on a Google search, and then you ask to be connected with that person. Now, oftentimes you'll have to leave a message, but really what you want to say is, hey, I was doing some research on your company and on your industry, and I was hoping to talk with you because I found that you're really the person that I need to be talking to. Do you have time for maybe a 10-minute chat or a 10-minute conversation? I would love to pick your brain. Leave your name and phone number. Don't even tell them you're looking for a job. Just say you want to have a 10-minute chat. So they'll call you back, and then in the large manual that you're going to get at the end of this webinar, it has a whole bunch of questions that you can ask, but you want to pick about 2 or 3 of those questions just to make it a 10-minute chat. You want to build rapport with them, find out about their industry, about their company, and after you've built that rapport, just ask, and then of course they're going to ask, okay, so why are you calling me and who are you? Then give them your audio business card and ask, so who do you know that I should be talking with? And it may be somebody within their company, and hopefully it'll be a decision maker and not somebody in HR. Or it may be that they say, our company isn't doing so well, but I hear our competition is really growing, so you might give them a call. So they'll give you some good information. I want to give you just quickly a couple of examples of people who have done informational interviews with people they know and people they don't know that have really quickly turned into regular interviews and turned into a job offer. So one is a guy named Greg. He was a client of ours, and 4 weeks into his search, I was coaching him, and at the end of the call, he said, oh, and by the way, I'm going to be having coffee with a small group leader from my church, and I think he owns a company. And I said, oh my gosh, we need to talk. We need to get ready for this. This is not just a regular coffee. We need to make sure that you sell yourself as a solution to whatever problems he's having. So I walked him through a questioning strategy and an answering strategy. Long story short, within a week and a half, he was offered a CFO job with the company, and let me think. Before that, he was just an individual contributor working for Deluxe Checks. And he wasn't a CPA, he didn't have a lot of finance experience, but the guy said, we really need somebody like you in our company and on my executive team. So they hired him, and he had a huge jump in both salary and in responsibility.
So what you're basically saying here is that it wasn't a formal interview setup, but you treated it like it was an interview, and the preparation for it was like an interview.
Absolutely. And, before we go on, I want to give you the example of Amy, who's here in Kansas City, and she was the VP of IT at the local Federal Reserve branch. and she saw herself as an IT person. And when we were branding her, I realized, Amy, you're not an IT person, you're a salesperson. So she said, really? So I gave her some job descriptions of salespeople, and she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I do, because she gets other Federal Reserve branches to pay them to do IT for them. So I said, why don't you try to get a mentor, maybe informally, with someone at a technology firm? So she targeted both Microsoft and also IBM. She ended up getting a very high-level sales executive at Microsoft to mentor her, and that lady fell in love with her. And with Microsoft, it took about, I think, 6 or 7 weeks. However, at the end, they ended up creating a job for her that was that she could work from her house. And there is no Microsoft exposure here in Kansas City, but she works from her house here in Kansas City. She makes her own travel schedule, and she went from a total compensation of around $185,000 to now, and actually she called me not too long ago and told me that her first year's salary is around $750,000, and she is an absolute rock star at Microsoft in sales, which she never thought that she was. So really, getting a mentor or reaching out to people that you don't know, it's a great way to expand your influence and expand your network.
And networking will give you those opportunities.
Absolutely. Now, with the strategic networking manual, you're going to get all of the questions that you can ask someone that you're just starting to meet. And it'll give you two kinds of questions. It'll give you broad questions when you first meet someone, and then more specific questions when you get to know them. Okay? All right. Let's see. Now, there's one other thing that I want to go over, and I know that we're going pretty fast here. There's a lot of stuff that we're talking about. I'm not going to go over all of these points. However, and these points will also be in the manual, so don't worry about having to take notes. But just make sure that you do your homework and be prepared. I want to give you a .com that nobody knows about, where you can research somebody prior to networking with them so that you can build a connection. And this works in interviewing, and it works in informational interviewing. That .com is called Pipple, and it's P like Paul, I, P like Paul, L.com. Pipple.com. If you use it correctly, it can give you a tremendous amount of information about a person prior to networking with them or prior to having an interview with them. It's also a good idea to write a thank you note after an informational interview. Nobody does it, and it will keep you top of mind later on. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, the handwritten note, the handwritten thank you is so very important. People don't do it anymore. It makes you unique. And again, since it's a hard copy, it's much less likely that it'll be thrown away. They will keep that, and you can get contacted just on the basis of sending them the handwritten note. Yeah,
that's true. And we'll be doing another webinar not too long from now that'll be about how to job search and resumes. And one of the things that we have our clients do is send hard copies of their resumes to the person that would be their boss in a company that they would want to work for. So you're bypassing HR, and it works because when you send an email, if somebody doesn't do anything with it for 10 minutes, it's gone and nobody's going to do anything. So doing it hard copy is something that nobody does. Putting a little handwritten note on the side of your resume is something that nobody does, and it really does set you apart. And it's a great way to introduce yourself to a company. Okay, so what we've covered so far this hour, and I know that we've been going very, very quickly. I've been talking like a banshee today. It's that Mountain Dew. I think I need to stop drinking the Mountain Dew.
It's like what you say. It's like drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah, yeah. So what we've covered so far this hour is how to position yourself as an expert with your audio business card. And I really want to reiterate that people will hire experts more quickly and they will pay them more than just a winning candidate. So if you position yourself as an expert in the way you introduce yourself, it will take you very, very far. And secondly, we talked about maximizing your time spent, meaning that you don't have to network just randomly. You can network strategically and get incredible results. Now, informational interviewing is something that you can do just a few times a week and greatly increase your referral network in as little as 6 weeks. And what it does is put you ahead of the competition in this very competitive market. And the only other thing that I want to mention in informational interviewing is if you do have a network of a few hundred contacts or more on LinkedIn, you can do a search, an advanced people search on just the second level contacts. And you can see who is connected to people that I know. And then ask the person that you know, just quickly in a LinkedIn InMail, do you mind if I mention your name because I'd like to connect with so-and-so that I saw that you're connected with. And then you reach out to that second level connection and say, I've been connecting with my friend Mary for quite a while and I've really enjoyed talking with her. I would love to connect with you as well. Do you have time for maybe a 10-minute conversation? And then you have a warm lead to have a 10-minute conversation with. You do not have to have a coffee with them. You do not have to buy them lunch. Literally just a 10-minute conversation is all you need to maximize your time with somebody and build rapport and see who they know and get maybe another name so that you can leapfrog and go from person to person to person and increase your network very, very quickly. Okay? All right, so let's do some Q&A here. We're coming up on the top of the hour, so let's do a little questions. I'd love to get some of your questions and check out your comments. Let's see. Go ahead, Clay. You've got those in front of you, so tell me what people are saying.
Well, here it says that Fred says this is great information. He's learned a ton. And
Awesome.
Allison from Australia. Allison says hello from Australia.
Hi, Allison. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Oh, here's a question. Scott asks, or first he says, I love what I'm hearing so far, but how much does it cost to work with you guys?
Well, that's a really good question. So it's a range. It ranges from a little over $1,000 to several $1,000s, but I tell you that we have a conversation with every single person that we work with before we take them on as clients, and I make sure that I am confident, and Clay is confident, that we can provide a great ROI for that person, meaning a return on investment. And if I don't feel personally that we can provide a return on investment for somebody, we won't take them on as a client. So if you do contact us, just know that don't take that personally. It's just that if I don't feel that we can provide a great ROI, we're very selective when it comes to clients. That's why I call us a boutique executive career firm. We only take on about 3 to 5 clients a month. And that's so that we can give the personal attention that somebody needs in order to get a job very quickly.
Okay, let's go to another question here. Raj asks, or he says, I've hired a career firm in the past, and I spent a lot of money and really didn't get anything out of it.
Okay, well, yeah, there are career firms. There's a lot of career firms out there, actually, and we have worked with a lot of people who have paid a lot of money to other career firms and it just didn't work out. I will tell you that the biggest factor in your success is how much effort you put into it. But there are career firms out there that don't give you the personalized service that you need, and they do offer a lot of promises and they don't they don't follow through on those promises. So that's something that I make sure that we are very, very careful of. We follow through on everything that we do when we give you an itemized list of deliverables that we do, and we hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we give you every single one of those deliverables, and you know what you're paying for when you come on board with us. Let's go ahead and transition then. As I promised, I talked about having the audio business card done for you, but I want to offer you a substantial discount on any of our services if you're interested in exploring the idea of working together. So, keep in mind, going back to the job search baseball concept, there are a lot of things that you need to do in order to find the perfect job that's going to pay you what you're worth. And you need to do each of them in the right way. As a matter of fact, in our six-figure solution clients, which is the search program where we work with somebody very closely, weekly or even more than that, until they get a job, and we help them negotiate that job. So there's actually 126 individuals to do that we walk you through and instruct you on. So there's a lot of things to do correctly in order to get a six-figure job fast. And really, today we've only covered one way to get to first base. So, some people just want to get things done for them, like the rebranding. It's hard sometimes to rebrand yourself and set yourself apart and be an expert. So, one of the things that we do with our six-figure solution clients is give them hand-researched leads of the right people in the right companies that they want to work for. And some people understand the benefit of having an expert in their corner, and we personalize executive search strategies to your situation and support you throughout your entire search. And there are other people that just need the executive branding program, and that gives you the resumes that you need, the online presence, including LinkedIn, and also an introduction, your audio business card. And that way you are in control of the perception that employers have about you, and you can easily make a big move up in your career or change industries. And you're not defined by the last position that you held or the last industry that you're in. Because usually what we'll end up doing is doing a chronological resume, but also a functional resume that is industry neutral, that really persuasively is written to get somebody's attention. So if you're interested in having a conversation with Clay or myself, I'd like to invite you to fill out a Getting to Know You survey. Look at the right-hand side now, and if you've got the PowerPoint pulled up so that it's all, it's maximized, bring that down, shrink that down so that you can see the Getting to Know You survey link. And you can take that survey and tell us more about you, and then Clay will call you by tomorrow and set up a convenient time for a conversation. And because you're on this webinar, I actually want to give you two different really important bonuses. So one of the things is, if you want to fill out the survey and you say on the survey that you came from this webinar, I'd like to give you a $500 off coupon for any of our services. So this is something that we rarely offer, and I want to reward you for taking action. Here's what we found. Taking consistent action fast is the best predictor of success in job searching. So $500 off any of our services if you mention that you come from this webinar, and there's no expiration date on that. However, here's what I'd like to do as well. For the first 10 people on this webinar who fill out the survey, and that's over to the right, that's the button, it'll take you straight to the survey, Clay is going to write your audio business card for you. We normally charge $300 for this. This is an integral part of the branding package that we do, and he is really good at pulling out your expertise and pulling out what it is that is different about you, and we will write that for you. So the first 10 people who fill it out, and you can start now if you'd like, first 10 people who fill it out, then Clay's going to write that audio business card for you. And again, this is first come, first served, so it's just the first 10 people. And basically, this comes to the end of our webinar. We've covered a tremendous amount of information. If you have any questions, I've got our emails, Tammy@beyondjobsearching.com or Clay@careerresumeconsulting.com. Now, I also have Tammy@careerresumeconsulting.com, but I don't look at that as often as Beyond Job Searching. That's actually my secret email address that I give to our clients so that they can reach me directly. I've also got our phone number on here if you want to call our office. And we have a lot of free resources on our website, so check us out at careerresumeconsulting.com. And, I really want to thank you for attending, because we sincerely appreciate you investing your time and your energy into this webinar. And it really shows how special you are and how committed you are to achieving your goals. That's really, really cool. There are very few people who are willing to do what it takes. And we've got 40 million people in the U.S. that are looking for a job. Very few are actually taking action to find out the best way to do the different things that it takes to get a job. So you really need to pat yourselves on the back. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. You're obviously one of those very special people who are taking action. Very smart. So thanks so much for attending. And, of course, be sure and pick up your bonus. So this is the Strategic Networking Manual that we had been talking about before. It's very comprehensive. It covers everything that we've talked about today. And just go to the right and you'll see the button to click, and it will take you to the download, and you can download that yourself. It's going to be in PDF form. Is there anything else that you want to add, Clay?
No, I think I thank you guys for listening in and hearing our information, and we really do hope that you take us up on these offers of the manual, and I can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And I really look forward to hearing about your success. If you get a job quickly using these techniques, please let me know, because I always do a happy dance whenever I hear somebody from the webinars that have used the information and actually have succeeded in getting a job quickly. That pays them what they're worth. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact either one of us, and we will see you on the next webinar, and have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.